What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tropical Storm Bret out here. It is still a minimal 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It's still taking some time to organize as of right now. If we go ahead and take a look at some satellite imagery right here, true color will even do right here. The system at the center is still quite a bit exposed right now. There is a little bit of dry air going on right here. However, I've been noticing over the last 20 minutes or so, there's some storms starting to fire up near the center of circulation right there, which if that can sustain itself, then it could offset that imbalance entirely and potentially start its strengthening right there. But speaking of intensifying, it's still a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. This tropical storm force winds extend out 45 miles from the center, 1,008 millibar pressure. If we take a look at the cone, it is now expected to make landfall in the Lesser Antilles as a strong tropical storm. However, I have still seen some models, and I've been looking at the OHC, the warm waters, as well as the wind shear and all that. And I've been looking at those factors, and I still think a hurricane is possible at this time. I think, honestly, if I had to give an estimate to you right now, it would be between 70 to 80 miles per hour would be where we would be if we were in the Lesser Antilles. The reason I think that is, once again, the warm waters. If we're going to go ahead and take a look at that, the warm waters over here right there, we're cracking 29 degrees Celsius in a lot of these areas over here, and there's no sign of that stopping anytime soon. And now we're going to go ahead and show you the OHC. Keep in mind that this system is not even in the biggest OHC. The biggest OHC is this right here, and that's an area where it's cracking 75, 100, 125 in a couple of areas right there. And this is where it is right now. It's starting to enter that better OHC right there. So my opinion here is that tonight and tomorrow is going to make or break the system. If starting tonight, we start seeing a lot better organization. Even today, if we start seeing a lot better organization, and then it starts really ramping up in intensity tonight, hurricane strength absolutely is possible, and I think that should not be left off the table. And if we take a look at the wind shear, it still starts to enter a bit of a pocket of this, as well as some dry air. However, the wind shear won't be enough to really make a huge difference at this time. The reason I think that is because the wind shear is a little too far to the north, and it could enhance some of the outflow if that continues. So that's what we're looking at right here based off of all of this. So we're going to go ahead and show you some track models, and then we'll talk a little bit about the intensity models. Track models over here, we're taking a look at this, and pretty much all the models now have this thing into the Caribbean Sea. A lot of them start approaching Nicaragua, Honduras, those areas right there. There is quite a bit of wind shear over here, so depending on how that goes, this system will probably not see any strengthening unless it enters a very favorable area of conditions right there, or the wind shear weakens by 10 knots or so to help it maintain its intensity. But I don't see any strengthening west of Puerto Rico going on. Intensity models still have some hurricane outliers right here. Majority of them have it as tropical storm strength. However, it still has plenty of opportunity to strengthen into a hurricane, potentially a big hurricane at that, due to these OHC values, as well as some other factors that we talked about earlier. Now, we're going to go ahead and show you some model runs, kind of to show you what's going on. We're going to go ahead and start with the HMON, and then go to some other runs. The HMON has this thing strengthening to a strong tropical storm or potentially weak hurricane. That is still on the table. It has it making landfall in the Windward Islands and then moving into the Caribbean Sea, where it starts to kind of stagnate and weaken as it goes on right there. So next, we're going to go ahead and show you the HAFS models right here, and we're going to go ahead and show you what we're looking at. This thing's still organizing, developing, starts to strengthen into potentially a minimal hurricane right here about 60 hours out as it's approaching the Lesser Antilles. However, as it gets closer there, it does start to weaken a little bit, although a Category 1 hurricane may not be out of the question once it approaches this area right here. And then it starts weakening in the Caribbean Sea due to that wind shear component right there. We're going to go ahead and show you the B model right here, the HAFSB right here, and give you a bit of a comparison right here. This is the B run right here. As you can see, it organizes, develops starts strengthening potentially into a Category 1 hurricane right there, but as it's approaching the Lesser Antilles, it's around strong tropical storm with minimal hurricane range right there. And then this enters the Caribbean once again. The shear starts to eat it apart. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the H-Wharf run, and the H-Wharf is a bit of an outlier, but something something still to keep in mind, primarily because of that OHC, primarily because of the warm waters. There is some dry air that could potentially intrude it, but if this system can close off its center before any of that happens, I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. But the H-Wharf has this really ramping up in intensity, 984 to 979. By 72 hours out, we're at potential Category 3 strength according to the H-Wharf right there. This has a more northern track towards Guadalupe and Dominica right here, and then it approaches the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico right there, makes landfall there, and kind of we'll figure out what happens from there. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. But with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.